A massive update for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about what insider K.C. Johnson had to say about Zach LaVine as he is showing up to the Chicago Bulls facility, and he is one of the first players to be working out with the team ahead of its training camp. So this is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are breaking into some breaking news that K.C. Johnson has reported as he is now on the new Chicago Bulls Sports Network officially, and he's saying that Zach LaVine has come to a mini camp that is completely voluntary. And so he's coming there. He's one of the first players to work out, and he's looking pretty good so far. And so I think from a PR standpoint, this is a good sign for Zach LaVine. I like the fact that he is showing that he is being professional. He is coming. He's showing that he's healthy, and he's starting to open up a positive dialogue, I think, with the players that are currently on the team. I think that this is more about them because with him showing up and him starting the workouts early before the actual training camp starts, that's a good sign for the Chicago Bulls fan base as far as the friction that might appear in the locker room. I think that that's a good thing, and that's really something that's like a leadership quality, and that's kind of a winning quality as well. Like, even though things are going rough around you, the fact that he's willing to show up and he's willing to go ahead and start putting in work, regardless if he's going to be with the Chicago Bulls for the duration of his contract or he's getting ready to be traded, whatever. I like the fact that he's being professional there. And likewise, comparatively speaking to Brandon Ingram in his situation with the Pelicans, it's the same thing where the Pelicans had a mini camp before the actual training camp, completely voluntary, so you can come or not come, whatever, but they're having to answer questions about Brandon Ingram not showing up. Also, too, some of the things that he said on the Twitter as far as not being wanted there and stuff like that. Like, it really makes you question now what are the Pelicans going to do, because it's just more noise around the franchise. And so I like the fact that Zach LaVine kind of silences that and gets ahead of that by coming into the facility and starting to work. That is a good sign. And so next, that brings us into this next point about just mending this relationship with Zach LaVine. And I'm not sure if it's possible to do so. I talked about the fact that ESPN report where, somebody within the franchise had some tough things to say about Zach LaVine. And just regardless of how you feel about Zach LaVine, you just can't do stuff like that, especially when you have a player here that you're still trying to trade and that you very much may have on your team for quite some time until you're able to get a trade. You do not want that relationship to get damaged even more. And so I don't think that was necessarily a good start for the Chicago Bulls going into this particular season. And this is one of the reasons why I like what Zach LaVine is doing, because whoever is, in his ear telling him like, hey, this looks good, whatever, like, this does look good, I think, on his behalf, because he's not out there bashing anybody in the team. He hasn't outright said that I have a problem with this player or this coach or whoever. Like, I like the fact that he's just come, he's shown up, and he's already said on his Twitter that he was going to be locked in. And so this goes back to an article that was talked about a couple days ago on the show, which is the Bulls looking to repair this relationship with Zach LaVine. And so now I wonder, was this part of the deal to mend this relationship? Is it like, look, you go ahead, you put the positive foot forward, you go out there, you control what you can control. We'll go out and show teams that, hey, look, he's healthy, he's working out, he's showing some leadership qualities, and maybe these are the things that are going to help a team now decide, all right, I'm willing to now take a look at this seriously and make the trade for Zach LaVine, because I think that that's what it's all about. I've seen it a couple times in the comments where people were saying that, hey, he's going to go extra hard as far as scoring the basketball and things like that. And I don't necessarily think that scoring the basketball at a high clip is what's going to get it done for a Zach LaVine trade. In fact, I think if he goes out and he were to score 35 points a game. I'm just throwing it out there. Look, it's not going to help the Chicago Bulls win any more games. I don't think it's going to help them get out of a playoff series. It's not going to help them get out of the Eastern Conference. Teams are looking to see, can he be effective in that third, fourth option? And also, too, can he put up winning stats? That's the bottom line. Like, just scoring the basketball is just not going to work. Like, it's going to get you the look, but for him to be moved with this type of salary, he's going to have to show that he can absolutely help your team win, and you feel like he is that missing piece that's going to push you over the top. Yes, at times you will need him to score, 35, 40 points a game, but that's not what you need every night. And you want to see that he can settle and be consistent with that third or fourth option. And so I think that really is the best way he can mend this relationship. And I think with the Chicago Bulls and the franchise itself, the front office, whoever, they have got to really silence the noise and really focus on getting a deal that makes sense for the Chicago Bulls if they're going to move on from Zach LaVine. You cannot afford to attach an asset which is going to hurt the Chicago Bulls in the long term, which unfortunately the Chicago Bulls franchise doesn't operate like that. In fact, when it comes down to making moves, they are literally playing checkers and not chess, which is what is so frustrating as a Chicago Bulls fan. They have got to learn to play a little bit more chess here. And so this means that they've got to be patient. You've got to put Zach LaVine into that situation to where he can display that, yes, he is a tradable piece at this point in time. So the Chicago Bulls have got to go ahead and maybe mend this thing by now, going and letting him do his thing. And they've got to do their thing in the front office and start to look at serious trade talks as they start to see evidence of him being that player that can be complimentary. Because I've talked about this before, Coby White is on his way, and so is Ayo. I think that both of those players are set to move up. I think they're set to take another level, and I don't care who's on this team, who's around them, who's in the way. I think both of those players are very hungry to go out and prove themselves. And I feel like Coby White especially knows what this situation is. He's been in Chicago. He's been on the bench. He's been hurt. He's now been thrust into the starting lineup. He was in the clutch moments with DeMar DeRozan. He's been under that tutelage. He understands what's going on behind the scenes with Zach LaVine. And I don't think he's going to let that bother him. And I know he's not going to let that stop him in his progress. And so that's one of the things that I think Zach LaVine has to know too as well, is that these players are players that the Chicago Bulls are going to want to build with in the long term. And they're not going to want to see him get in the way of that. They're going to want to see him be able to complement those players. And so I'm curious to see if that is how this situation gets fixed, mended, whatever. Let me know in the comments what you think, if it can be fixed, if it can be mended, and is this really a big storyline that Zach LaVine has shown up to this mini camp that you can volunteer to do, and he's already started to put in the work and show that, hey, he is looking to come out here and put his best foot forward. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Before we jump out of here, I wanted to thank you guys for liking, sharing, and commenting on the videos. It makes or means a lot to us here at the Bulls Digest as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers before we reach the season start of the NBA. And so I just want to thank you guys out there, let you know 68.5 are not subscribed, so mash that subscribe button. And even though we're talking about something that is really going to hang over this team until the Chicago Bulls make that move or until he's traded, whatever, I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.